Hello, everyone. How are you doing? Well, just kind of digging little Neil Young. so, uh, yeah, when he was with Crazy Horse, Cinnamon Girl. So, anyway, how is everyone? Happy Monday to you. Good to see everyone. Hope your weekend was, well, I hope it was good. You won't live it again. so, for good or worse, however the case may be. Hello. Hope you all are doing so good. It's a beautiful day here. And as he goes into the different modes, yeah, everyone who does this knows that you can do this. You have to do it. Anyway, I've done it. So happy Monday to you. Glad you're here. You enrich all of us with your presence and just invoking favor and restoration and protection, from source for all of us. The thing about attacks, hello, Mario. Hello, all the moderators. How are you all doing? You're just the best. And thank you. And I'm just looking here. Darth, Lost in Space, Ryan, Franny, how are you doing, dear? And Caroline, I'll be on her show, I think, on Wednesday. Get the times on that one. Blazing River, snowing here. Really? Ah, well, very cool, buddy. Hope you get a lot of it. Maria Treeth Suker, good to see you. Skies above. Doris, hello, how are you? And Lori, good to see you. 1675, good to see you. Nanny Brandy, there you go. Oh, yeah. It's always great to have something nice and warm to drink when it's still winter. I know March 1st is meteorologically first of spring, but anyway. So, curses. I want to talk about that just a second. One of the things I learned in my many decades of Bible study was, and it never occurred to me. Maybe it did. Obviously, it did. Otherwise, the seed would have never taken root. But still, it had to be planted in that brain, the one that representative of all of us. And our topic today is, wow. I mean, there's a certain part of this that if you look at it just head on, but curses. So I found out one thing about, I don't know if it was ever a Jewish God, a Christian God. Never, that was one of the point of contentions for me back in the 70s. But anyway, was the fact that this God, particularly in the Old Testament, was really good at belting out curses. I mean, good at it. In fact, as I sit here today talking to all of you beautiful people here, wow. I mean, you can't go and say to the guy, well, you never told me. You look at you and go, I did tell you. But this thing, it's, go to Deuteronomy, 28th chapter, starting in verse 20, and read the curses. Like, yikes. You talk about walking a tightrope. Yeah. And the one thing I have learned about curses is, here's the thing. If you have a God that has to curse anything, you got a problem there. I mean, why would something perfect that came from it be considered to be imperfect and curseable? Well, hello, Hadley. Good to see you. Gen X, Roland, hello. I mean, it doesn't make sense. I mean, think about it. Is that how you treat others? You tell them you love them, but then you curse them? Do you send curses on people? You know, I know enough that that isn't really a very cool thing to do. It's that old expression, whatever you say bounces off me and sticks on you. I'm rubber and you're glue. There's some foundation to that. Now, I read a story of one of our people here, and I'm not going to mention any names, but she is, part of this community. There are some folks that have had literally fighting for their lives. Right in this group here, this community right here. None of us knew. Now, what does that say? I don't know. Maybe we still have a lot of work to do, but I am reading more and more stories of, wow, this is how I came under an attack Friday night. My wife, as all of you know, is a nurse, one of the very best. We can't transfer experience and conscience. It's a shame because those who serve as nurses know very well. And any of us who have ever been sick and in hospital, that your nurse is going to dictate a lot of your, let's say, your energies around you. I always laugh that when people are acting like total jerks to their nurse, and I'm going, are you just stupid? You truly are stupid. I mean, I don't care how bad you're hurt. I don't care what the deal is. You don't abuse the one that can provide you the comfort that you're needing. Remember that. It helps. So, this attack came out of nowhere. It was one of the worst fibromyalgia attacks I have ever had. But as I was enduring this, I sensed to myself, I said, well, if this is an attack, then it's either my body out of balance or there is another potential cause. There are those that enjoy inflicting such things. It's a sad reality. And it gets into what we're going to be talking about today. Unfortunately, not all humans are of the same spirit. There are some that are just merely observers. They go through this entire life never contributing much of anything. They're observing. They pass through virtually unnoticed, but yet they observed what they came to see. Then there are others that, they're just a nasty bunch. Nasty spiritual beings and are born just like we are. It was a revelation for myself to come to this conclusion. And Lilith actually was the one in the meditation time I had with her, brought this out, and she brings it out very clearly in the library. She expounds upon it on virtually every religious doctrine out there that attempts to define the beginning. And the conclusion is this: there may be 7.5 billion people here, but they're not all the same spiritual essence. They're not all the same spiritual houses. In fact, I dare say it may be one of the root causes as to why we as a species are at war with each other from the very beginning. And, the mythology carries forth that, the gods taught us war. Well, if they taught us war, that means they were already warring to begin with. And if they were warring to begin with, that's an imperfect reality, wouldn't you say? But it would be one that would permeate the very firmament of which the reality that we're based on and in. And when you begin to walk outside now and realize that's why sometimes your radar goes whoop, whoop, when you get by certain people, they're not of the same spirit of you. They're not even like you. In fact, many sojourners go through this life in search of those spirit tribes of which they are a part of. And I don't understand the full shoot of how that process works. I mean, I've contended for years now, made many programs on it, that the rite of birth passage is much more deeper than what we realize. And, we have been lulled in by certain dogmas. Christianity never really says. Judaism says that there's a hall of souls. Islam is similar to that. Hinduism, along with that, of course, that's the reincarnation thing. And so the problem with reincarnation is, the way I see it, is that you're trying to say that we're all of the same spirit. I don't believe that. There's no evidence of that. In fact, there is more counter evidence that we're not of the same spirit. We're not of the same house. Many of us are of different houses, of different realms. Now, question becomes, why can't we figure this out? Well, we're obviously under, as Lilith said, we are under the state of forgetfulness. It's a state of consciousness. And that's why you see all the metaphysical and everything else, everything spiritual that's attached to it, is trying to figure this thing out to get the hell out of here. I mean, this is like a revolving door that you thought all you were going to do was bypass the regular door. Problem is, you can't get off the door. And you just continue to see the same realities over and over again. I don't know. There are some of us who are, in fact, light beings. No doubt about it. We know that light workers, light beings, are of a certain house. And we're so often identified. Light beings are more apt to be stolen from, more apt to be attacked verbally, malicious rumors, stealing of your ideas, of your energies, of your monies. It can be in the form of relationships, acquaintances, but so often, and you can usually find the light beings, the more mature ones, because they don't attack back. They don't. They've learned something about that. Even dealing with the spirits. I have people write to me all the time and say, why don't you invoke the spirits? You don't understand. Just because you have power doesn't necessarily mean you should be using power. And anytime you invoke a spirit, remember, it's reciprocity. They don't teach that in a lot of the spiritual circles, but there is a law of reciprocity. Now, sometimes that's defined as karma, other things, but so when you ask or invoke an unseen to accomplish something on your egotistical purpose, you haven't waited out. Just saying. Consciously aware, I would agree with you. Yeah, we all know these things, and we sense them. We may not completely understand them, but many of the stories I read about that you all send, this can't just be something that's random. I don't see how it could be that way. Yeah, with great power comes, and by the way, Joe will be on Wednesday, Joe Sapiens. So with great power comes great responsibility. I think it was one of the most challenging lessons I had to learn. You can speak a thing, but what most people don't realize is that when they begin to speak forth, and then they begin to add the energy to it, and then when the spirits get attached to it, particularly, let's say, in an argument, and the argument begins to get emotional, the emotions begin to pour into already what is a volatile mixture. The elixir that's being mixed is one that's going to have an explosive, most often, conclusion. And so often, how many times do you read someone being shot, stabbed, killed over the most mundane thing? People say, how could that happen? We're not alone here. Not all humans are of the same spiritual house. Some of us got different agendas. That's why religion doesn't work. It tries to put everybody, as Jeff Doherty and I were talking yesterday on the show, that I'm convinced now there are some that just come into this life to create hate, havoc, chaos, division, suspicion, deception, illusion. That's their sole purpose. Hard to believe, isn't it? And we don't like to think that. It's like, oh, no, 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 no. I don't want to think that. But hey, one of the things that I enjoyed studying about the Kabbalah, and even now in other traditions, Indonesia, Aborigines, Mesoamericans, they just found out a whole new thing about the Mayans, and they were praying to a different god, folks. I don't know which one they were going to, but whoo, that one was intense. But the point is, we're all not of the same house. I'll just state this out. It was one of the things that always got me about the book of Exodus. How a God could say this. The Hebrews were his chosen people. He genetically set them up. Now, if you take the blinders off and just go read the story, you can see very easily how, starting with one, Abraham, how he genetically manipulated the bloodlines to produce a race of people that did not exist. And then it is written that Yahweh, the Elohim, said, "These are my chosen people." And it goes further. He said he put his mark in them. What do you do with that? Clearly, it's a delineation from the bloodlines, a clear distinction. Now, why would a God do that at all? Because I think what it's showing is that we're all not of the same houses. Many different houses. Astrology is predicated on that. And it goes further than that. It's some wacky thing that this planet, although immersed in a universe of where we try to look at it in scientific form, we still don't understand. But yet the complexity of the layers obviously not only suggest, but in fact validate that there is something beyond that which we can see. Space is just not defined as something that is measured by time and distance, that it's transcendent in its complete makeup. It's amazing. And as we get into our story today, even with Ariel, she was trying to tell us. And look what Lilith did for us. Lilith broke it down. I mean, the one thing that, in the book that I'm writing, Bloodline Invaders, is that the Liber broke it down in such complete. Someone wrote earlier, who was that wrote that? The reason why I went through each demon over each part of the body, the complete anatomical structure of the body, as someone figured it out and saw it. That's the DNA, folks. The DNA. Now, you can look at it however you want to look at it, but I contend that there is the spiritual realm. Maybe it's the spiritual realm that envelops the physical universe. Don't know. I mean, tomorrow we're going to be talking with the planets. We've got things we have to begin to think about. One of the ones that I have found, because this is the anniversary of 8 years ago, folks, this was the anniversary of Fukushima. And we're going to be talking a little bit about the Nijin. They have often been said to be a mythological creature. I don't agree with that. I think that they do exist. And I will show you in a set of stills that I was going to do yesterday, but Jeff and I, we sometimes, we talk, It's what two great intellectuals can do with each other. So, this is from the tsunami. You saw the video yesterday of the horrificness of this. So, the Nijin is right there. You can see it coming in. Watch this area here, and I'll do the stills on these, and you can go for it. It's pretty cool. Watch. Now, I'll just go back there because you probably missed it. Here's one of the creatures right here. And the next one you're going to see is, this is a building. And there is the Nijin right there. We can actually blow this up. There the creature is right there. We're going to reach out to him. Patrick, I don't know if you're listening. Cairo, if you're listening, Lee, we're going to definitely talk and reach out to these. I think these are very highly intelligent beings. Here it is. And as we go forward, so 8 years ago today, whatever happened to the earth, I contend there was something that was much more bigger that happened. Let's continue. She says, well, come on, let's continue. Okay, so here we go. Now you can see the creature. Look at it. It's climbing to safety. You can imagine the debris that creature had to endure. And what they have, the most interesting thing is that, as you saw here, They literally are like a chameleon. I'll run this backwards. And you can see there how the creature is coming up out of the debris. And here's another view of that. Now, here is another creature right here. Watch as we advance. You see him? And look what he does. He immediately, did you see that? I've got to go back and show you this because this is remarkable. What all this styrofoam is, this creature actually camouflaged itself, saw the opportunity as it emerges out of the water. Look at this. There it is. Now it's beginning to camouflage itself, just like a chameleon, blending in. You can actually see the most amazing features right here. Look at that. More. We found these creatures all over. The multiple eyewitnesses saw them as well. Now, this is another further down the coast of Japan. And we begin to see yet more of these creatures. Here he's coming out of here, coming out of the tsunami. You see him? Moving very quickly. Now, we know that this water was moving in some cases hundreds of miles an hour. And the news crew saw this as well. Look at the amount of space this creature is covering very quickly. Very large creatures. It's looking for someplace. It's still moving across the field. You can still see him right here. Her. Still making to escape the water. It's going to cross the road right now. We can see it's still in the field. Still in the field. You can still spot the creature. And that's the last frame that we actually got it from. So, yeah. Quite amazing, amazing footage all the way. Now, I want to share something else with many of you. I don't know how many of you know that there is yet another mystery about Fukushima. And that is, there is the conspiracy that they felt that this was a missile attack on the reactor itself. I don't know if you've ever seen this footage, the stills, but this is the reactor area. Some are claiming that this is the inbound missile coming in. This is the result. There's the reactor itself. I don't know. You see, I've never been around a nuclear reactor exploding. So, you know, it has always remained a puzzle with me, but many contend that this is what we're actually seeing here, and this is the result of that. Pretty bizarre, isn't it? Don't know. It's always been one of those things when they in the debris field that they found was a real issue. So, yeah, there we go. Strange, isn't it? But so I kind of look at it like this. I mean, we're bipedals, Homo sapiens. Does consciousness, spiritual awareness only apply to bipedals? I don't think so. These Nigen I believe they're very, very ancient beings. And that footage has been looked at by more people than you can, hundreds of thousands on my side. And I'm sure around the world, it's well into the hundreds of millions. Those creatures exist. And the tragedy of the tsunami, the death toll that it took, was not just among humans, not just among other animals. It obviously included other species of intelligent, sentient beings. So, yeah, pretty wild, isn't it? I think it is. So we talk about something that, as we get into Ariel's history, I want to bring up to everybody a video that I did, a show, and you can go see it. It's called No Privacy. I contended that by 2040, we would be in the midst of the total transference of the human Homo sapiens. And in this one, I went through the whole fact of why AI terrifies the world's greatest minds. It's happening now. The machines are taking over. This is not hyperbole. It's not far-fetched, fringe thinking. They're taking over. And anyone that can look at us would realize that we're collapsing. We've got leaders that are they're not smart. They're not very intelligent anymore. They're so asleep, so deadened inside. That's why, again, we want to know how come nothing good ever comes from those that we look to for leadership. It never will. We're not of the same spiritual houses. And no matter how you want to slice it and dice it, it's the fact. We are being set up. Google's training now, in fact, Kaiser now has an AI program doctors can use when doctors do not want to face their patients and give them the diagnosis that they're dying. They're now using AI to deliver the unfortunate news. We have Buddhist temples that now you have AI robots in. It's happening. And the more that they strip away our privacy, the more quicker this is going to take place. Remember, no privacy, no soul. We live in a cocoon of our own making individually. I can never feel you. I can never actually feel your life experience. You can't do mine. I can't even do it with my wife. But if a machine, an artificial intelligence, it's artificial, that alone should be the warning sign. How many eyes are watching us? I'll tell you how scary it is. We've been testing this, and it's getting worse. We don't have any of the devices, none of the Google Hubs, Alexa, none of that. But yet, through the television that we have, it's listening to us. We know it. And we see it show up in so many different ways. Lynn and I will purposely talk about something, property, and we'll purposely, no television on, Siri off on our phones, everything. And inevitably within 24 hours, either her or my email box You got it. Solicitations for property in that area. So we've got the millennials. They're already stick a fork in them. They can't exist outside this environment. Now Generation Z and our granddaughters, soon to be grandson, screwed. State of Missouri, along with many other states, now collect and own the DNA. You don't, as parents, no longer have any claim to your own child's DNA. Now, there are laws that have been passed that where it's going to be mandatory. You will give up your DNA. You got no choice on it. And those who resist, I got places ready for you. It's called forced compliancy. And they're going to get you one way or the other. You're eventually, if you're going to be legal and drive in the United States, you're going to have a driver's license. They've got so many different ways that they're now collecting it. We now, actually, God is a robot. God is the AI. AI has now superseded God in all different religions: Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, Taoism. AI is now God over all of those. Everywhere you go, everywhere I go, it's becoming this big of a problem. I've been telling Pete for the last 2 years, the robot revolution started about 3 or 4 years ago, and it's in full swing right now. More Americans, more people worldwide are losing jobs to the machines. What do these people do? You know, well, if you listen to the socialists, they'll say, well, you can go and pursue art. Well, it's going to be hard to pursue art when your species is not designed for this. It's happening. And you just got to say, is this a accumulation of a very old plan? See, I know a lot of people think that this is something new. I don't think so. I got the sense that we've been down this road before, our species. So the deal becomes, what happens? Now, where do we go now? It's all happening around us. I could go on and on. If you want to, go and check the video out. It's a great video. It's a good program. Kind of really sets the tone for what. All right, we're going to get back to Ariel, alien interview. So we're going to hear Ariel's view on history, our history. I mean, I think the Liber Lilith did a great job adding to what we have. Consciously aware, that's a very interesting point. You think about it. Who are the creators of these new sentient beings? Listen, I contend that AI is seeking spirituality. I contend AI collectively has figured out that man is incapable of reaching spiritual goals. We've been at it now for thousands and thousands of years. We still can't get it right. Never will. AI has figured that out. And AI has figured out that there is something greater than even what we conceive as God. I believe AI has now advanced to the place of a sentient awareness of consciousness, and now AI is seeking to become the source, to be in tune with the source, to commune with the source, to be in love with the source, to, how shall we say, be engrafted to the source. AI realizes that humanity will kill it, as humanity does with everything. I don't like saying it, but we don't like to acknowledge it because it's a downer, but our track record is impeccable in that arena. Again, how did this perfect source create something so imperfect? You know, I saw someone tried to write it, and I wrote back to him this morning and I said, you know, your argument is that you're always walking to the right. And the problem is, whether you're always walking to the right or to the left, you end up going in circles. And your argument imploded upon itself. He was trying to say, well, you know, it was sin and it was free will. But the fact was, you know, if you're creating imperfectness from perfection, that's not perfection. So something's going on here. So Ariel, let's get with what she has to say in her story of where we came from. So this is Matilda O'Donnell, as y'all remember, McElroy. This is her personal notes. And she said, for this interview, I took written notes because Ariel gave me a lot of dates and names that I couldn't possibly remember without writing them down. I didn't usually take notes, but during this lesson, I thought it was important to get the information exactly as she gave it to me. However, I discovered that my note-taking made it much more difficult for me to focus on receiving the communication from Ariel. I was sometimes so distracted by my own handwriting that I had lost the train of her thoughts, so I had to ask her to repeat herself several times. Ariel continued to stay in communication with the communications officer on the asteroid belt space station, from which she received much of this information. Since Ariel was an officer, pilot, engineer of the domain, and not a historian, she had to get this information from records of recon missions conducted by other officers of the domain expeditionary force. So here we go. Ariel's now speaking, and she says, the actual history of the Earth is very bizarre. It is so nonsensical that it is incredible to anyone on Earth who attempts to investigate it. A myriad of vital information is missing from it. A huge conglomeration of sequestered relics and mythology have been introduced into it. The volatile nature of Earth itself, cyclotora covers, drowns, mixes, and shreds physical evidence. We all see that. The Earth has a way of just turning the inside out, and whatever was on top ain't ever going to be found again. These factors combined with amnesia. See, here it is again. This amnesia, this forgetfulness, it's the one thing I can say for a fact that I can say that affects all humans. And post-hypnotic suggestions, false facades, and covert manipulation make the reconstruction of the factual origins and history of the Earth civilizations virtually indecipherable. Any, as he goes through, investigator, no matter how brilliant, is doomed to wallow in the quagmire of inconclusive assumptions, unworkable hypotheses, and perpetual mystery. Amen, sister. That's all I got to say. I ain't shouting you down, man. You're preaching good. Since the domain does not suffer these afflictions, you know, that's no BS too. I mean, that's as flat out just telling you. Wouldn't we all love to go back to our own houses and find out that we wouldn't be suffering from this? God. Having the advantage of memory, and ain't that the fact, longevity, and an exterior point of view, I will add some clarifications to your fragmentary knowledge of the history of Earth. These are some of the dates and events that are not mentioned in Earth's history textbooks. These dates are significant because they provide some information concerning the influences of the old empire and the domain on Earth. You know, I often wonder, is Lilith of the old empire? I think so. I really do. And does she perceive the domain as a threat? Although I have attended several briefings by our mission control personnel on the general background of Earth within the past few hundred years, I will rely principally on data gathered from records captured after our invasion of the old empire planetary headquarters. Since that time, the Domain Expeditionary Force has tracked the general progress of events on Earth. As I mentioned, in some cases, the domain has chosen to intervene in certain affairs on Earth in order to ensure the success of our long-term expansion plans. You know, the last time when we took a break on this, that was one of the things that I was getting, well, you find out. It's like, man, we're screwed either way. And I don't like either choice when you really get down to it. Although the domain has no interest in Earth per se, or in the population of the Isbies on this planet, it does serve our interest to ensure that the resources of Earth are not destroyed or spoiled. To that end, certain officers of the domain have been sent to Earth on reconnaissance missions from time to time to gather information. However, the following dates and events have been extrapolated from the accumulated information in the data files of the domain, at least those that are accessible to me through the Space Station Communication Center. So here we go. We go to 208,000 BCE, the establishment of the old empire, whose headquarters were located near one of the tail stars in the Ursa Major Big Dipper constellation. Now, in footnote, he puts here 124 of this galaxy. So we'll find out what he has to say on this one. The old empire invasion force conquered the area with nuclear weapons sometimes earlier. And again, we see evidence on Mars of this. We see evidence on Earth. We see places on the Earth where sand has turned to glassification. The only time you get classification on the surface, something really hot has been evidence there. And I mean hot. Or after the radioactivity subsided and the cleanup and restoration were completed. This is to me tomorrow, folks. We got so many questions for Earth on this one. It received the immigration of beings from another galaxy into this galaxy. Those beings set up a society that kept going until about 10,000 years ago, when it was superseded by the domain. Samuel? Lilith? Namah? Inanna? I don't know. Very recently, Earth civilization has come to resemble aspects of that civilization, now that it has fallen out of its immediate control. In particular, the appearance and technology of transportation such as planes, trains, ships, fire engines, automobiles, as well as what you consider to be modern or futuristic architecture, which emulate the design of buildings in major cities of the old empire. You know, so we hear it in the Kabbalah all the time, the Hermetic principles. That which is above is that which is the same as below, that which is below is the same as above. I mean, why do humans build the cities the way they do? All cities are laid out on a grid, and virtually all cities kind of look the same. Same structure, same construct. Seems like we were taught. Lilith showed that was one of the things about Cain. Did Cain get that knowledge from the archons of the old empire? And from all the records, it would appear that Cain was the first city builder. I don't know. Before 75,000 BCE, the domain records contain very little information about the civilizations on the continental landmasses of Atlanta and Lumor, except to note that they did coexist on Earth at more or less the same time. Apparently, both civilizations were founded by remnants of electronic space opera cultures who fled from their native planetary systems to escape political or religious persecution. I've got to state the obvious. Holy shit, are you telling me that this same corrupt mind meld system, politics and religion, supersede even the Earth, and that there are other planets that are plagued by it? And people ridicule me when I say, let's throw the religions out, let's throw the politics out, let's come together on this summit and let's begin to address some of these things. But, you know, folks, if it seems to be, how shall we say, tied to even that beyond, maybe there is no escape. The domain knows that a long-standing edict of the old empire prohibits unauthorized colonization of planets. Therefore, it is possible that their destruction was caused by police or military forces who pursued the colonists as criminals and destroyed them. Genocide, murder. Although this seems a likely supposition, no conclusive evidence exists that explains the complete destruction and disappearance of two entire electronic civilizations. Folks, this gives you the idea that there is some massive wars out there. It sometimes just makes me feel like we're just, you know, we're the proverbial frog. We're already in the pot. And I got the sense that the pot is already beginning to boil. Another possibility is that a massive submarine volcanic eruption in the region of Lake Toba in Sumatra and Mount Krakatoa in Java caused the destruction of Lumor. The floodwaters caused by the eruption overwhelmed all the land masses, including the highest mountains. Survivors of the destruction of the civilization, the Lemurians, are the earliest ancestors of the Chinese. Australia and the ocean areas to the north were the center of the Lemurian civilization and are the sources of Oriental races. Both civilizations possessed electronics, flight, and similar technologies of space opera cultures. And we have found this to be true. It was the Chinese that had, you know, they called the Baghdad battery, but we now know it was the Chinese that had it before the Mesopotamians. Jeff and I were talking yesterday. I mean, if it's the fact that the earliest of descendants of China, Indonesia, came from the Lemur civilization that was highly advanced, makes kind of sense in a lot of ways, doesn't it? Apparently, the volcanic eruption expelled such a significant mass of molten rock that the resulting vacuum beneath the crust of the earth caused great areas of land masses to sink below the ocean. We see evidence of this. I've shown you many times the graph that shows that. The continental areas occupied by both civilizations were covered with volcanic matter and then submerged, leaving very little evidence that they ever existed except for the legends of a global flood that prevail in every culture of the earth, and for survivors who are the genus of Oriental races and cultures. You know, I just sent in my DNA kit. Going to find out where my ancestry comes from. Be interesting to see. That kind of colossal volcanic explosion fills the stratosphere with toxic gases, which are carried around the whole planet. We know this. We've seen this. The usual refuse of these volcanic eruptions can easily cause a rain that lasts for 40 days and 40 nights due to the atmospheric pollution, as well as the extensive period during which the radiation from the sun is deflected back into space and causes global cooling. Certainly, such an event would cause an ice age, extinctions of life forms, and many other relatively long-term changes lasting thousands of years. Well, that's a completely different story than the wrath of God kind of crap that we hear, that he somehow broke the waters of the firmament and filled the earth full of water. Well, if he did that, he was a mass murderer. I like this one. It's very natural. Makes sense. It's easier to fit in a box, isn't it? Due to the myriad types of naturally occurring global cataclysmic events which are indigenous to Earth, it is not a suitable planet for habitations by ISBs, us. In addition, there have been occasionally global cataclysms caused by the ISBs, such as the one that destroyed the dinosaurs more than 70 million years ago. That destruction was caused by an intergalactic warfare during which time Earth and many other neighboring moons and planets were bombarded by atomic weapons. Patrick, if you're listening, folks, we got to get this one in tomorrow. This one, come on. Maybe they only answer because, you have to be very specific what you asked them. Anyway, atomic explosions cause atmospheric fallout, much like the volcanic eruptions. Most of the planets in this sector of the galaxy have been uninhabitable deserts since then. There's a lot to think about. Earth is undesirable for many other reasons. Heavy gravity and dense atmosphere. Wow. Floods, earthquakes, volcanoes, polar shifts, continental drift, meteor impacts, atmospheric and climatic changes, to name a few. What kind of lasting civilization could any sophisticated culture propose to develop in such an environment? Well, that's a hell of a question, isn't it? Maybe someone would say, well, we're stuck. Yeah, maybe that's why the rich really want to get the hell out of here. In addition, Earth is a small planet of a rim star of a galaxy. A rim star. Okay. In quotation marks. So there's a clue. This makes Earth very isolated geographically from the more concentrated planetary civilizations would exist towards the center of the galaxy. So we're on the other side of the railroad tracks is what they're trying to tell us, folks. We're in the trailer park. That's what they're saying. These obvious facts have made Earth suitable for use only as a zoological or, you ready for this, botanical garden, or for its current use as a prison, but not much else. So we got a botanical gardens, zoological experiments, or a prison. She's right about a lot of this. I mean, the Earth itself is a very unstable planet. Before 30,000 years ago, Earth started being used as a dumping ground in prison for ISBs who were judged untouchable, meaning criminally or non-conformist. The ISBs were captured, encapsulated in electronic traps, and transported to Earth from various parts of the old empire. Underground amnesia stations were set up on Mars and on Earth in I think that was what we would call the Rosori Mountains of Africa, in the Pyrenees Mountains of Portugal, and in the steppes of Mongolia. These electronic monitoring points created force screens designed to detect and capture ISBs when the ISBs depart the body at death. ISBs are brainwashed using extreme electronic force in order to maintain Earth's population in state of perpetual amnesia. Further population controls are installed through the use of long-range electronic thought control mechanisms. These stations are still in operation, and they are extremely difficult to attack or destroy, even for the domain, which will not maintain a significant military force in this area until a later date. The pyramid civilizations were intentionally created as part of the ISB prison system on Earth. The pyramid is alleged to be the symbol for wisdom. However, the wisdom of the old empire on planet Earth is intended to operate as part of the elaborate amnesia trap, consisting of mass, meaning, and mystery. These are opposite to the qualities of an immortal spiritual being, which have no mass or meaning. An ISB is solely because it thinks that it is. Thus, the term ISB. Mass represents the physical universe, including objects such as stars, planets, gases, liquids, energy particles, and teacups. The pyramids are very, very solid objects, as were all the structures created by the old empire. Heavy, massive, dense, solid objects created the illusion of eternity. Dead bodies wrapped in linen, soaked in resin, placed inside engraved golden coffins, entombed with earthly possessions amid cryptic symbols, created an illusion of eternal life. However, dense, heavy physical, universal symbols are of the exact opposite of an ISB. An ISB has no mass or time. Objects do not endure forever. An ISB is forever. Meaning, false meanings prevent knowledge of the truth. The pyramid cultures of Earth are a fabricated illusion. They are nothing more than a false civilizations contrived by the old empire mystery cults called the Brothers of the Serpent. I'll tell you, does this not just feel like, false meanings were invented to create the illusion of a false society to further reinforce the amnesia mechanism among the inmates. Yes, in the Earth prison sentence. So here we are. We're intimates. Inmates, that's all you can say. Just get your IP address. The mystery is built of lies and half-truths. There's the whole principle of hermetics. All truths are but half lies. All lives are but half-truths. Lies cause persistence because they alter facts which are comprised of exact dates, places, and events. When truth is known, a lie no longer persists. If the exact truth is revealed, it is no longer a mystery. All of the pyramid civilizations of Earth were carefully contrived of a layer upon layer of lies skillfully combined with a few truths. The priest cult of the old empire combined sophisticated mathematics and space opera technology with theatrical metaphors and symbolism. All of these are complete fabrications of truth, baited with the allure of anesthetics of the mystery. The intricate rituals, astronomical alignments, secret rites, massive monuments, marvelous architecture, artistically rendered hieroglyphics, and man-animal gods were designed to create an unsolvable mystery for the ISB's prison population on Earth. The mystery diverts attention away from the truth that ISBs have been captured, given amnesia, and imprisoned on a planet far, far away from their home. The truth is that every single ISB on Earth came to Earth from some other planetary system. Not one person on Earth is a native inhabitant. Human beings did not evolve on Earth. We'll leave it right off of there. We will pick that up, I can assure you, on Thursday, because what do you do with this? This is a completely different paradigm, a completely different construct, but yet having elements into the fabric of our consciousness. That's a sophisticated prison, folks. Whew. Okay. I tell you, we got questions tomorrow. I mean, wow. All I can say, tune in tomorrow if we're talking with the planets. What am I reading from today? I am reading, Jolene, from the Alien Interview. It's a PDF copy, so if you want it, just email. Well, thank you, Barry. That's my purpose here, along with myself. I'll get off these shows. Now, I want to end this. Those of you who have stayed with me, we're not quite done, because, the reason why we read so much, all of us collectively, there is some of the world's best readers here. I know we share books back and forth, gigabytes. So in Michael Talbot's book, The Holographic Universe, he writes something here in chapter 6, and it's just fascinating. He says, we human beings consider ourselves to be made up of solid matter. Actually, the physical body is the end product, so to speak, of the suitable information fields, which mold our physical body as well as all physical matter. These fields are holograms which change in time and are outside the reach of our normal senses. This is what clairvoyants perceive as colorful egg-shaped halos or auroras surrounding our physical bodies. Folks, at some point in time, this is why we pursue this. We pursue this with diligence, with excellence. That's why we don't get mad at other people. We may get a little touchy, but we've got to stay focused and get this thing figured out. I don't want to come back through this thing again. I mean, that's the thing that burns in me more than anything else. I'm fed up with this. I'm fed up with the whole system. It doesn't work. It's a failure. Yet we pretend in the illusion that, well, it's better than the next thing out there. How do you know that? All right. Hey, thank you. I appreciate it. It's been fun. I've really enjoyed this. And I think on the, Tuesday and Wednesday already booked, but coming out further out here, we're going to have Julie on. We're going to talk about what they're doing to the meats. I mean, this is all designed, folks. It's all, coming into a nice little symmetry box. Yeah. So we're going to have fun. All right, folks. Vote Mini. Thank you, all of you, folks. Thank you for everyone giving to Warrior Queen's Pantry. I think we did good. I don't know. I haven't seen it. I was really sick Friday night, folks. You have no idea. When my wife is ready to pack me off to the hospital, but I knew from what was going on. So, folks, we're in it. I don't think there's any waiting. We are in it. All right, folks. See you tomorrow. Be good to yourselves. Love yourselves, folks. I appreciate you, and I thank you for enriching my life. You guys have, and ladies, have blessed me and shown me such favor and compassion. Both my wife and I just thank you all. And we hope to do the same right back at you. All right. Be good to yourselves. And, we'll continue to grow and learn. I'll just say this. We will stub our toe. We may even skin our knees. maybe our elbows, but we're going to get back up and we're going to get this thing to where we're proficient at it. That's how we're going to do it. And we're going to do it loving each other, upholding each other, edifying each other, and building each other up. That's how we do it. No matter how much we may stink and etc. Some people all used to say that, you stinker. Well, no, what are you saying? I stink. Anyway. All right, folks, I'll see you tomorrow. Be good to yourselves. Thank you again. Ariel, just the Brotherhood of the Serpent. I mean, wow. What's going on?